There's a sound I will never forget. The soft, digital ping of a text message. Simple. Innocent. But this one felt different. It arrived on a cold, gray Tuesday in December, while I was in my apartment, staring at a blank spreadsheet for a job that barely paid my rent. The room was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels heavy and lonely. My phone lit up and the screen showed a name I hadn't seen in weeks. Mom. The preview text just said, "Sweetheart, we miss you. Your father and I have a surprise." A surprise. From them. My heart did this clumsy, hopeful little jump. I hadn't been home for Christmas in 2 years. Not since the big argument. The one about my life choices, my impractical career, the waste of my degree. The distance between us wasn't just miles. It was a canyon filled with silence, disapproving sighs, and words forever left unsaid. But a surprise? Maybe the ice was finally thawing. With trembling fingers, I opened the message. And the words were like a warm hug I didn't know I needed. "We're flying you home for the whole holiday season. First-class ticket. All expenses paid. It's time our family was together again. We love you so much. Reply quickly so we can book." I read it 5 times. Asterisk first class. All expenses paid. We love you. Asterisk tears pricked the corners of my eyes. This was it. The olive branch. The apology without having to actually say the words. They wanted me. They were spending real money to have me home. In my tiny, quiet apartment, for the first time in forever, I felt like a wanted daughter. I immediately called my best friend, Maya. "They're bringing me home," I whispered into the phone, my voice shaking with pure emotion. Maya said, "That's amazing," but I could hear that hint of caution in her tone. Maya knew my family. She remembered the Thanksgiving I came back early, crying. "Are you sure about this? It's very sudden." "It's a peace offering," I insisted, brushing away my happy tears. "They're my family. This is them trying." I replied to my mom within minutes. "Yes, I would love to come home. Thank you, thank you, thank you." The reply was almost instant. A heart emoji and then, "Ticket confirmation coming. Can't wait to have you here. Dad is so excited." The next week was a blur of giddy anticipation. I packed my best clothes. I bought small, thoughtful gifts. I imagined fireplace conversations, baking cookies with my mom like we used to, watching old movies with my dad. I pictured healing. I dreamed of belonging again. The first-class ticket confirmation arrived. It was real. This was happening. I boarded the plane with a heart swollen with hope. The flight was smooth, the service impeccable, but all I could think about was the moment I'd see them at the airport. Would my mom cry? Would my dad give me his rare, tight hug? As the plane descended, I looked out at the familiar sprawl of my hometown, twinkling with 1,000 Christmas lights. A deep, settled warmth spread through my chest. I was home. I should have known. I should have remembered that in my family, a golden ticket always comes with strings attached. Invisible strings, strong enough to tie you down. And I was about to walk right into the trap. The airport arrival gate was busy with holiday reunions. Families embracing, children squealing. I scanned the crowd, my suitcase rolling behind me. And then I saw them. My mom, waving with a bright smile. My dad, standing beside her, hands in his pockets. My younger siblings, Chloe and Jake, were on their phones, barely looking up. "There she is," my mom called out. She pulled me into a hug that felt quick, efficient, like an item on a to-do list had been checked. "Look at you. You look tired, sweetheart. The city life must be exhausting." My dad offered a stiff pat on the shoulder. "Flight okay?" "It was great, Dad. Thank you so much for the ticket. It was incredibly generous." He nodded. "Well, it's a special time." Chloe mumbled a hey without making eye contact. Jake gave a half wave. Typical teenager stuff, I told myself. Don't read into it. The car ride home was filled with my mom's chatter. Updates about neighbors, the new landscaping, the expensive new sofa. Not once did she ask, "How are you?" The questions were surface level. Is your job stable? Are you seeing anyone? Each one felt less like curiosity and more like an assessment. When we pulled into the driveway, the house was, as promised, a picture-perfect Christmas card. A giant wreath on the door, lights twinkling from the eaves. Inside, it smelled of pine and cinnamon. My old room was mostly the same, though it now also functioned as a craft room. My mom had cleared a small space for my suitcase. "We're so glad you're here," she said, standing in the doorway. "It's going to be such a full house this year. So much to do." That first night, dinner was quiet. The conversation was polite but thin, like ice over a deep, cold lake. I tried to share stories from my life, but the responses were nods and quick subject changes back to their world. I went to bed feeling a strange emptiness. The warmth from the text message was already cooling, but I silenced the doubt. "It's just the first night," I thought. "We're rusty." The next morning, things felt organized. My mom had a list. "Since you're here, sweetheart, you can help us get everything ready. You're so good at wrapping." She gestured to a mountain of gifts in the living room. "And Chloe needs a ride to her friend's party tonight. Jake has basketball practice. Your father and I have the charity gala." It was a lot, but this was part of being home, right? Pitching in. I spent all day wrapping, driving, fetching. I was the helper, the extra pair of hands. That night, as I collapsed into bed, my back aching from being hunched over presents, I heard my parents talking downstairs. Their voices were low, but the house was quiet. I crept to the top of the stairs. "Logistics are all set," my dad was saying. "And she settled in?" my mom replied. "Seems to be. Didn't complain about the driving today." A pause. Then my mom, her voice a mix of relief and something else, calculation. "Perfect. It's working out perfectly. Wait until we tell her." "Tell me what?" A cold trickle of anxiety ran down my spine. "Tell me what?" I went back to bed, but sleep wouldn't come. The word logistics echoed in my mind. Since when did a family Christmas involve logistics? The crack had appeared. A tiny, hairline fracture in the beautiful fantasy I'd built. I tried to ignore it, to paste over it with hope. But the next day, the crack would be blown wide open. Day 3. I came downstairs early, hoping to have a quiet coffee with my mom. Maybe we could talk. Really talk. Instead, I found her at the kitchen island, her laptop open, her face lit by the screen. She was studying it with intense focus. A travel website. I saw palm trees. A beach. "Morning, Mom. Planning a summer trip?" I asked, trying to sound light. She jumped, startled, and quickly minimized the window. A flash of guilt crossed her face before it was replaced by her bright, practiced smile. "Oh. Good morning, honey. Just dreaming a little." She closed the laptop with a definitive click. Sit. I made pancakes." The pancakes were good. The silence was not. Finally, she put down her fork and reached across the table, taking my hand. Her expression turned serious. Loving. The mom look. "Sweetheart, there's something we need to talk to you about. All of us. After dinner tonight, okay?" My stomach dropped. "Is everything all right?" "Everything is wonderful," she said a little too quickly. "It's just a family plan. A wonderful surprise, really, for everyone." The day dragged. Every interaction felt loaded. My dad avoided me. Chloe and Jake seemed almost amused, sharing secret smirks. I was an outsider in my own home, waiting for a verdict. Finally, after dinner, my dad cleared his throat. Everyone in the living room. Family meeting. We gathered. The Christmas tree lights twinkled mockingly. My mom sat close to my dad, holding his hand. She beamed at me. "We are so happy you're here," she began. "Having you home has been just what we needed." I nodded, forcing a smile. "And because you're here," my dad continued, "it has allowed us to make some last-minute adjustments to our holiday plans." "Adjustments?" asked, my voice small. My mom leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with excitement. But not excitement for me, excitement for them. "Your father and I, we never had a proper honeymoon. We've worked so hard all these years. And we realized, with the kids getting older and with you being so responsible, and here, this is our chance. Chance for what? I asked, though the pieces were already crashing together in my mind. The travel website, the logistics, the first-class ticket. We're going to the Maldives. Chloe burst out, unable to contain herself. For 2 weeks. Over Christmas and New Year's. The room spun. The air left my lungs. I looked from Chloe's excited face to Jake's grin, to my parents' expectant, joyous expressions. You're going on vacation? I managed to say. Yes, my mom said. A beautiful, luxurious, all-inclusive resort. We leave the day after tomorrow. And the best part, she paused for dramatic effect, is that we'll have total peace of mind, because you'll be here, holding down the fort, taking care of your brother and sister. Isn't it perfect? The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a transaction. The first-class ticket wasn't an invitation home. It was a payment. A business-class payment for a live-in nanny, house-sitter, and chaperone for the holidays. You flew me home to babysit? The words came out flat, dead. My dad's face tightened. Don't say it like that. We're giving you a family Christmas. And you're helping your family. It's a win-win. A win-win. I repeated, disbelief choking me. You lied to me. You said you wanted me home. You said you missed me. We do, my mom protested, her smile faltering. And this is how we can all be happy. You get a nice holiday in a beautiful house, and we get a much-needed break. The kids are easy. You'll have the whole place to yourself most of the time. I looked at my siblings. They weren't on it. They'd known. This was the family plan. I was the only one who hadn't been consulted. I was the staff. I stood up. My legs felt weak. I need to think, I whispered. As I walked upstairs, I heard my dad say, she'll come around. She always does. And my mom, sighing, she's being a bit dramatic, but she'll see it's for the best. In that moment, alone in the craft room, surrounded by scraps of wrapping paper and the ghosts of my childhood, I felt it. The death of a hope. The crushing weight of a love that was conditional. They didn't want their daughter. They wanted a convenient solution. And they'd bought one. With a first-class ticket. But as I sat in the dark, a new feeling began to burn through the shock and the pain. It started as a small, cold ember in my chest. A spark of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not sadness. Not hurt. It was clarity. And with that clarity came a plan. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling, the initial raw pain hardening into something solid. Something usable. They thought I was predictable. The dramatic but ultimately compliant daughter who would sigh, maybe cry, and then do what was expected. They were counting on my love for my siblings, my guilt, my desire to please, to keep me in my place. Well, they had misread me. The 2 years of distance hadn't just been about arguments. They'd been about growth. About finding a spine I never knew I had. And now, they had just handed me the perfect opportunity to show them. The next morning, I walked downstairs with a mask perfectly in place. My eyes were a little puffy, which sold the act. I looked defeated, resigned. My mom was nervously making coffee. Honey, about last night, she started. I held up a hand, forcing a wobbly smile. It's okay, Mom. I overreacted. You're right. You and Dad deserve a break. I'm happy to help. The relief that flooded her face was instant and total. She rushed over and hugged me. Oh, I knew you'd understand. You're such a good girl. The best daughter. The performance had begun. For the next 36 hours, I was the model of helpfulness. I asked about their itinerary. So, when is your flight? Where are you staying? Do you have all your documents? I played the concerned, dutiful child. I helped my mom pack. I listened to my dad talk about snorkeling. I nodded as Chloe and Jake listed their holiday plans. I absorbed it all. Every detail. The flight number, the resort name, the confirmation code on the fridge. I took pictures of it all with my phone when no one was looking. I also asked innocent questions about the house. How do you work the alarm system again? What day does the gardener come? I wasn't just learning how to run their house. I was learning its rhythms, its vulnerabilities. My revenge wasn't going to be loud or angry. It wasn't going to be a screaming match. That's what they expected. That's what they could dismiss.
No.
My revenge was going to be so quiet, so precise, and so utterly complete that by the time they realized what had happened, there would be nothing they could do. The night before their flight, we had a bon voyage dinner. They were giddy, bubbling over with excitement. I raised my glass of sparkling cider. To your trip, I said, my voice sweet. I hope you have the time of your lives. We will, my dad boomed. And don't worry about a thing here. You've got it under control. Oh, I said, meeting his eye with a serene smile. I absolutely do. The next morning, the house was chaos. Suitcases by the door, last-minute panic about passports. I made them coffee, waved from the driveway as the taxi pulled away. I stood there, watching the car disappear down the street, their cheerful faces pressed to the window. The silence that settled over the house was profound. I walked back inside, closed the front door softly. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator. I looked around at the perfect Christmas decor, the spotless kitchen, the tree piled with gifts I had wrapped. A deep, calm certainty settled over me. They were on their way to paradise. And I was about to start my own project. Phase 1 began. I sat at my dad's home office desk, a place I'd never been allowed to sit as a child, and powered up my laptop. I had files to create. I began to document everything. I found the paperwork for the lavish holiday catering order they'd placed for a New Year's Eve party for 20. Paid in full. Cancellation policy. 48 hours for a full refund. I found the receipts for the extravagant gifts. The $500 leather jacket. The designer handbag. I took photos. I noted the credit card details. Then, I turned to the babysitting roster. Chloe and Jake had left their school laptops on the coffee table, passwords saved. A quick look confirmed their social plans. Parties at houses where parents were away. But I wasn't a facilitator anymore. I was a strategist. My first move was subtle. I logged into my mom's email on the family computer. She'd left herself signed in. I found the catering confirmation. I hit reply. I composed an email, mimicking my mom's polite, slightly fussy tone. Asterisk, dear catering company, we are so terribly sorry, but a family emergency has come up requiring us to travel immediately. We must cancel our New Year's Eve order. Asterisk, I hit send. The refund of nearly $2,000 would go back to their credit card. A card they wouldn't be checking while sipping cocktails on the beach. Next, the gifts. I carefully rewrapped every single present under the tree, making them look pristine. Then I loaded them into my car. Over the next 2 days, with receipts in hand, I returned every last one. The jacket, the handbag, the expensive electronics, the cashmere sweaters. The store clerks were sympathetic. Changed your mind, they'd ask. Something like that. I'd say with a sad smile. Thousands of dollars in refunds poured back onto their card. I wasn't stealing.
I was reallocating.
Unbuying their Christmas. Now for the children. I sat Chloe and Jake down. Their faces were bored, expecting another lecture about curfews. Guys, I said, my voice serious. Mom and Dad's trip. There's something you should know. That got their attention. This trip, it's not just a vacation. They're in some financial trouble. The big talk after the trip was going to be about cutting back. Selling this house, maybe. That's why they suddenly needed to go away and talk things through. Their eyes went wide.
What?
No way, Jake said. Why do you think they returned all the Christmas presents? I said, gesturing to the bare space under the tree. And cancel the big party? They didn't want to worry you. They asked me to handle things quietly while they're gone. It was a lie, of course. But it was a lie built on the foundation of their own deception. And it had the desired effect. Panic. I saw the selfish gleam in their eyes shift to fear. Fear for their lifestyle. Their comfort. So, I continued. Here's the new deal. No big parties. No asking me for money for pizza or movies. We're on a strict budget until they get back. We're going to have a quiet, old-fashioned holiday. And if you help me, if we show them we can be responsible and not spend a dime, it might help convince them we can weather this. That we don't need to sell the house. I was offering them a new, more compelling narrative. One where they were heroes, not just spoiled kids. And I was tying my authority to saving their home. They bought it. The secret parties were canceled. They stopped asking for cash. The house was quiet, peaceful. I had neutralized the babysitting burden completely. But this was just the internal groundwork. The real move was external. I looked at the beautiful, empty, too-big house. And I thought about my friends back in the city. Maya, the nurse working a double shift. Ben, the writer whose heat had been cut off. Sarah, the single mom whose daycare was closed. I thought about the family Christmas I was promised.
The one built on a lie.
And I decided to build a real one. I called Maya first. "What are you doing for Christmas?" "Working a double shift." "Joy to the world," she said, her voice tired.
"Get on a train," I said.
"I have a huge, empty, fully stocked house. A fireplace. And I need my family, my real family, here with me." One by one, I called them. My chosen family. The people who had shown up for me in my tiny apartment with cheap wine and real listening. I didn't have much money, but I had this house. And I had all the refunded cash from the catering and gifts, which I transferred to my account as a householding fund. It wasn't stealing, it was funding the Christmas they'd promised me. My friends arrived, hesitant at first, then with growing delight. We moved the fancy, formal furniture to make space. We cooked simple, hearty meals with the expensive groceries my mom had stocked. We played board games by the fire. We watched terrible movies and laughed until we cried. We filled the silent, perfumed rooms with real warmth, real noise, real joy. It was the Christmas I had dreamed of, just not with the family I was born to. But my plan had one more beautiful layer. Remember the charity gala? I looked up the local homeless shelter. I called the director. "My family is away for the holidays," I said. "But we have this enormous, empty house. And we'd like to offer it anonymously as a temporary warming center and holiday dinner venue for a few families you work with who are struggling." The director was stunned, tearful. This is a miracle. On Christmas Eve, with my friends as co-conspirators, we welcomed 3 families into the house. Single mothers with young children, fleeing bad situations. We cooked a feast. We had gifts, warm coats, books, toys. We gave them the use of the luxurious bathrooms, the soft beds in the guest rooms. The house was alive with the sound of children's laughter, grateful conversations, the clatter of a truly shared meal. We were breaking every unspoken rule of my parents' pristine world. And it was magnificent. I took photos, not to brag but to document. The joy on a child's face as they opened a new stuffed animal by the tree. My friends serving food at the dining table that usually sat empty. The real, messy, beautiful spirit of Christmas happening right under my family's expensive roof. As I fell asleep on Christmas night, listening to the peaceful silence after a day of beautiful chaos, I felt no guilt, only a profound sense of rightness. They had wanted a house sitter, a guardian of their empty museum. Instead, they got a revolutionary, one who turned their fortress of status into a sanctuary of genuine kindness. The vacation I knew was about to end. And when they returned, they would walk into a home that had been fundamentally altered. Not physically, but spiritually. And they would have to face the mirror I had held up to their actions. The calm was over. The storm of their return was coming. And I was ready.